Today, the OneCam freestyle. This week, I'm going to be interested in a slogan, actually, an affirmation. You've seen that hashtag, which is no bad cameras. Many people talk to me about it and ask me if I believe it's true and what I think about it. And as much as I would like to believe it, and I like the idea, for those who know my channels, I do lots of testing with loads of cameras because I'm very much interested in the matter that comes out of it, either analog or digital. And right now, for example, so I'm doing a guide for digicams, a pretty trendy topic. But as much as I would like it to be, I think it's only trying to hide a question, which is when you have to choose a camera, for those of us, I'll include me, who are looking for the perfect camera for a good experience, saying that all cameras are good can kind of elude the question of should I be interested in that camera or this camera? Finally, I really think there are some bad cameras. It really depends on the user, because I don't think those cameras are meant to be without a user and without results. So again, as much as I would love that all cameras can make really great pictures, and you'll find many examples online, either on YouTube or on social networks, where you'll see incredible photos taken with theoretically terrible cameras. I still believe there are some bad cameras. Most of those videos are with cameras which are kind of have proved their existence. How do you say? Proved their value. But I'll give a few examples. Actually, I will start with the counter example. There's this Minox Digital Classic Leica M3 camera, which is a pretty bad sensor, not very good in low lights, does some extrapolation, saves in a very compressed format, really not good in low lights, and has this really grainy results, and manual focus you can't control really well. A weird interface, looks like a toy. It's tiny but looks like a toy. But I actually like the results. And for many, it's going to be a really bad camera. But I like the grain. I like to manipulate the files. The results are really interesting to me. So it's a good camera, and I like to take it along. It's fun. Then I have another example, which here for the case it's part of all those cameras I'm testing for the guide how to choose your digicam. I'm taking the Konica Minolta Dimage X1. It was before Sony acquired Konica Minolta. It's 8 megapixel, has an anti-shake system, has a great interface, is super fast, the body is nice, super compact, a real pleasure to use. But I've been testing it for a few months, and honestly, I haven't had one good picture. So maybe it's going to be good with someone else. And that's maybe why, and that's probably where this no bad cameras hashtag comes from. But I really think this affirmation tends to try to hide the fact that it's quite complicated to find the good camera for your practice, for your use in your pleasure. And it actually isn't really interesting to say all cameras are good. And obviously all those videos you see online, all those cameras that you see usually give good results. But again, it's mostly on the video on YouTube or on Instagram. And so they're good for that usage. But I think per se, if you're a user looking for a camera, it's not an advantage for you to think that all cameras are good. You're going to try to adapt to cameras which aren't, simply because I'll give you an example. When the Nikon Coolpix 4500 came out, very interesting camera. I got one of them when they came out. It's got a really good macro mode. I felt it was a really good camera. It was a great camera at the time for me. I made some really cool shots. Really enjoyed the experience, but there weren't really any alternative for the price point and at the time. And I got one. I sold it at the time and got something else, a DSLR at the time. But I got one because I'm doing this digicam guide. I'm trying to make a guide for you to choose the digicam that corresponds to your needs. And I tried it again, and as much as I remember the successes, I think it's a pretty bad camera today. Didn't really work out. I couldn't find the feeling I had at the time, simply because you evolve. And so for me, it's a bad camera. And I think, even so, I don't like the idea of saying so, but it's not a really good camera. So, I think most of us who, again, it's not I'm fighting against. I'm really open also. I'd like to hear. Please write your comments below and give me your own experience. But I'm simply, as much as I wish it was true, I think it's just not true. It's for those of us who collect cameras or test everything, of course they're all good, and for those of us who make YouTube media, because it's practical to be able to have good results with everything. But then we're not the general user, and I think it's for most of you, it's not really interesting to say all cameras are good. Another example, a camera that's pretty bad, that was supposed to be pretty bad at the time, that's the opposite of the Coolpix 5500, the Sigma DP2X. Today, it's got a really interesting sensor, the foveon sensor, but at the time it was kind of weird to use, pretty bad press because it was very, very grainy, low light situation, it was pretty bad, very slow interface. Lots of things that really went against it. But today it's got this micro contrast, it's really interesting color rendering. So while many of you might not be interested and think it's still a bad camera, I think it's a good camera. So it's very subjective. And that's what I mean. And just thinking about this affirmation, trying to answer what people ask me about, do you think old cameras are good? I don't think so. And I think it also extends to film cameras. Many cameras are not that good, and they will make your experience quite miserable. Maybe they might be good if they're the only option you have. But I think today we have so many options available that it's kind of interesting to think that there are some bad cameras, because it will really ease the choice of the tool you use in your daily practice. But please feel free to comment and tell about your experience, and catch you next time.